What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Freddy's Gym. So you just quit the carnivore diet because you realize it's not working for you anymore. It works short term, but in the long term, you are starting to run into some negative issues and you're ready to add carbohydrates back into your diet. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly what I did to successfully reintroduce carbohydrates and how now I'm eating upwards of 300 grams of carbs a day and feeling a lot better, okay? So the first thing you need to know, guys, right, is you want to introduce carbohydrates slowly. But here's something that's pretty interesting that might happen to you, is you might actually lose water weight at first when you reintroduce carbohydrates, because when you're low or zero carb, your body can get pretty stressed out, your cortisol levels spike, and your body may go into this fight or flight mode and actually hold on to water. So when I reintroduced carbs at first, my body literally dropped more water because I was finally not in this stressed out, depleted state anymore. All right. So the second thing I want you guys to be aware of is this midday crash surprise. Okay. The first few days when you add carbs back in, especially if you eat them around lunchtime, you might crash pretty hard midday. You might tend to feel a little bit groggy, brain foggy, and don't want to move type crash, right? And that's simply because your body's completely overreached right now and underfueled from neglecting carbohydrates for so long. But please don't panic. This does get better. All right, I promise. The third thing here is this freak out moment that you might run into. Now, after the initial phase, once your body finally starts storing glycogen properly, you might notice your weight go up a few pounds. And this is where people tend to freak out, but this is literally just water, guys. This is not body fat, okay? Your body is finally getting the materials to hydrate properly and store electrolytes again. And even a few days later after that, what I actually noticed is my stools came back. They came back to normal. So you might notice that too. Your thirst disappears, you feel hydrated, digestion kicks back on, and then you're sitting there thinking, I cannot believe that I fell for these carnivore influencers telling me that only pooping once a week is normal because my body is absorbing all the meat, when really I was just dehydrated the whole time with zero motility. All jokes aside. Now, how I actually reintroduced carbohydrates successfully, the first thing I did, and I strongly recommend, is tracking your calories using a macro calculator. Okay, this is huge because instead of guessing, you actually know how many calories, carbs, and protein are coming in. And this helps me not go off the rails, and it could help you too. Now, I started with 100 grams of carbohydrates per day, coming in the form of fruit and white rice. I just found that those two carbohydrate sources digest pretty easily. Now, after about a week, I then added potatoes, and I did feel pretty good with them, so I kept them in the meal plan. But I was still tracking everything the whole entire time, which actually helped me keep my weight stable. All right. Now, I want to mention this other thing here. I think meal frequency really matters here. Okay, I try to aim for at least 3 meals a day. I find that if you slam your body with this giant carb bomb and then go hours with nothing, I just feel like that's a recipe and disaster for, blood sugar swings and crashes. I prefer the slow drip, the steady energy. I feel like that's more of a smoother, adaptation, right? Now, after about a week, I did add another 50 grams of carbohydrates, bringing me to a total of 150 grams of carbs. And I repeated this process until I felt comfortable increasing carbohydrates even further and ramping it more up. Okay, so I did experience a little bit of bloating at first, but that is totally normal when your body is adjusting to holding on to water. Now, if you're training and you're working out, this could even be better. The transition phase could even possibly be better for you because you can actually time your carbohydrates around your workouts. Now, we know that hard training, working out is kind of a catabolic state. So after training, your body is craving carbs post-workout to refill glycogen stores. And you're going to have those carbohydrates readily available now, rather than forcing it to convert protein via gluconeogenesis, right? Now, when I do talk about carbohydrates, guys, I'm not talking about, muffins, cookies, these garbage snacks. I feel like people tend to think about those type of carbohydrates when you mention the word carb. But I'm talking about clean, whole food source carbohydrates. You're just going to feel a lot better. Now, I do want to mention, if you are still feeling lethargic, adding back clean carbohydrates to your diet, you're still feeling kind of crushed, what I want you to do is stop training hard for like a week. Just take it off, okay? And rest, because what's most likely happening is you're just extremely overreached right now. Your nervous system is shot from being so depleted from the carbohydrates. But I want you to keep the carbohydrates in, recover properly, and then start to ramp up the training a little bit when you start to feel a little bit better, okay? Now, the progression for foods, let's just kind of retract everything. So starting with fruit, okay? It's a little bit more gentle, hydrating. You might even just feel way better just adding a couple pieces of fruit at first, because your body, your brain does prefer that glucose, right? So once you start feeling good, then you can add in some clean grains, okay? And then when you feel even better, that's when you would add in things like potatoes. Now, within a few weeks, your blood sugar should stabilize. Your energy is going to skyrocket. Your mood's going to improve. And your workouts are going to become insane again. This is what happened to me. Now, the end goal, okay? What we want to do, right, is we want to eventually land in this well-rounded, powerful diet. So just because you went on the carnivore diet, short term it was great, right? Long term it didn't turn out so great, but you still don't knock it off, guys, okay? Because you still were able to learn some things from doing that diet, okay? Like, don't just completely wipe out everything you learned from that diet, okay? You can add some of this to your now more well-rounded, powerful diet that you have now, right? Keeping in the animal protein from carnivore, clean carbs for performance, and maybe even some healthy fats, all right? And you can play around with this. Maybe you're adding in some, avocado oil now, extra virgin olive oil, natural nut butters, not talking about the other seed oils, but I'm talking about these healthy fats. You can kind of maybe taper off and go into like some leaner meats, turkey, chicken, that kind of stuff. But you can kind of play around with it. So take what you learn from carnivore and then, apply the whole foods, the whole carbohydrates, and then you can combine those things together for an overall good performance type diet, right? But the biggest key is just finding which foods you digest best on and you feel best on and that you can stick to long term, all right? I think that's the biggest key. And going on something like a carnivore diet, which is, an elimination diet, it definitely helped me. It helped me find out the foods that were actually causing me a reaction. But long term, I did also experience some negative effects, and it was just time for me to reintroduce carbohydrates and foods back into my diet, and not neglecting foods, but just staying away from possible foods that are causing me like maybe some allergic reactions or some inflammation in the body. All right. Yeah, so that's going to be it. If you guys found this video helpful, please hit that subscribe button and comment below. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Are you guys going through the same issue? But anyways, guys, until the next video, I will see you guys soon. I hope that helped, and have a good rest of your day. Peace.